Let's do this. And good morning. Welcome to another edition of Coach's Corner, our first in the month of December. And now we're talking the winter sports season. Everything is getting going with practices, some games, some matches. And we're going to kick things off here today. The Highlander girls wrestling team had their first ever home duel here on Tuesday. And Coach Tim Miller joining us. How you doing?
Good.
How fun was that, getting a home meet?
That was awesome. That we'd waited for that for a long time to be able to do that and to schedule it, and so we got two of them. So
and I think Northern Cass, that was their first ever duel.
It was their first ever duel also. Period. Yep. Because their numbers jumped from like 3 or 4 last year to 12 or so this year.
Right.
So.
And number-wise for us, I mean, we're filling just about every weight class, aren't we?
We are. We're not. We don't have a 190, and we can bump a little bit at the other one, or to fill them like we did. In our which duel did we bump in the second duel?
Second duel in the West Fargo duel.
Yeah. We did a little bumping there, trying to fix things with Miley being out, but
right. You had Noel, I think, went up to 170, and then you bumped Catherine up as well.
Yep. But they moved their 170 up to go with Catherine. So. And
you look at West Fargo; they had quite a few wrestlers that were state competitors last year, and we won that duel 42-36. So as I was broadcasting, I'm saying, okay, now that's a new school record for most points.
Yeah, I heard that.
In a duel. Hey, it's something to talk about.
I was wondering if everybody caught that. You just got done saying it's the first duel ever, and then,
at home.
Yep. Well, yeah, we did have last year.
They had last year the Devils Lake duel.
Yep.
And so what that was 36 points. Hey, there's a school record for most points in the duel.
You weren't wrong.
Yeah, I was not. First time for everything. I finally get something right. But one of the wrestlers actually, everybody did such a fantastic job. But one wrestler only didn't get a varsity match, got exhibition. Katie Harris, and I think it was her second one, was in a position where things weren't going well. I think she looked at you. You said something. She said, okay, the next thing you know, she gets a reversal, and I think ended up winning that match.
Yeah, well, she went 3-0.
Yeah.
The one that really, she did that in her second match, but the one that really stands out is her third match, her last match, the last match of the night that we had. She beat a girl that had 28 wins on the season last year, and who was just seasoned and very good, and Katie eventually wore her out. And we talked about that at practice last night, how Katie was on her back, and she looked like she was in deep trouble. And she bridged out, and we call it, she lived to fight another day, and she came back and won handily, actually. I think it was 15 to 10, yes. I think was the final score.
Right.
So, yeah. That was the effort there. When she's on her game, she's...
And she lost a wrestle-off, I think, to Camden. So Camden wrestled the varsity. Katie got exhibition.
Yep.
How good is that to have two quality wrestlers that, it's like, hey, one of you two are going to, they're going to compete all year long?
Yeah, well, I tell them that. And I tell the girls, we want wrestle-offs at weight classes. I want you to know there's somebody at your heels where if you let off the gas, that they might beat you and they might take your spot, at least in duels, for that week. So in that wrestle-off, it was tight. It was close until Katie made a little mistake. Katie's a 7th grader, but Camden's only an 8th grader. So they're both going to make new kid wrestler mistakes. But in that particular day, Katie made a little mistake, and Cam took advantage of it and got the pin in the middle of a very close match. So. Proud of them both. It's at tournaments, like I said, they're both going. They tell them you're both going to wrestle at tournaments, but week of duels, it's going to be a wrestle off.
Tournaments, you already had one. You were in Minot at the early bird earlier this year. I think 11 wrestlers went, 9 placed.
Yeah.
They didn't do team scores. I think one team had like 32 wrestlers listed, but. Overall, you have to be pleased with that first tournament of the season.
Yeah, that was very good also. First one out of the gate, they didn't really keep track of team score. I didn't try and look at anything. It really doesn't matter at this point. And that's probably why they didn't keep track of team score. We had another tournament last year in Lisbon where they didn't start off the year where they didn't keep track of team score. And so yeah, no, excellent tournament for most of our girls.
And just getting a chance, get on the mat, get that competition, because the wrestling room is one thing. You got to get on the mat and get the match experience, especially what is it, 4 7th graders? I think that you have
5, yeah.
5 7th graders. So you got, yes, they wrestled express, but now this is a whole different ballgame, isn't it? When they move up to that varsity level,
it is. It's it's another level in their lives. When they first wrestle express, they're going to go to a tournament. They're going to have nerves. Nerves are going to be at a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get through the year, and by the end of the year, they're relaxed a little bit. And if it was their second year of express, they'd probably come in a lot more relaxed. Well, now it's varsity. Now it's a bigger deal. We tell them welcome to the Highliners, welcome to varsity.
Right.
And it's a little bit bigger stage. And for some of them, it might feel like a lot bigger stage. So their nerves are starting at the top, high level nerves again. And that's one thing that helps so much when and that's part of what I try to do, is get their nerves down to a manageable level. Mm-hmm. I mean, we tell them you're always going to be nervous. Mm-hmm. When you're going out to wrestle, it's in a way you're going into a legal fight, and anytime you're going to go into something like that, you're going to be nervous. So that's normal. So we try and let them know that the feelings they're having with nerves, because we had a lot of it, that it's normal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And this team is led, of course, Deegan Kirschman and Mila Christensen, seniors, the 2 Barnes County North young ladies, I think both over 100 wins last year in their career. And I think, matter of fact, did it on the same day, just moments apart.
Yep. I think it was, a couple minutes apart at I forget which tournament. It was a Castleton tournament last year.
Right.
They both came into the season with 109. I am keeping track of that because there's another 1 or 2 milestones that they're going to hit this year, and if they both get to, we're hoping they can get to 150.
Yeah.
We're doing the math on trying to see how many matches they're going to have, and it's going to be close. If they get there, that's going to be tough. Mm-hmm. It's going to be tough to beat for a long time to come. That's going to the 150 win mark is going to stand for a long time if they can get there.
And because of the relative newness of girls wrestling in the state of North Dakota, not a lot of wrestlers have hit that 100 or 150 win plateau.
They were one of the first ones to hit 100, and if they get there, they're going to be one of the first and very few to have hit 150. Yes. Yeah.
And so they're the ones. Deegan off to a good start. She's undefeated here in her first 4 matches, both off to good starts. So do they know that this leadership role? It's been a couple of years now. They've kind of been the last year you only had the 1 senior with Victoria.
Right.
So this year with the 2, they know, okay, we're the elder statesmen and maybe have to lead a little bit. But knowing those 2, they're more leaders by example, or are they rah-rah type of leaders?
Miley is what I would say a silent leader. Mm-hmm. Well, she knows. I joke around that she's not the silent one. She's the life of the party when we get into the practice room, things like that. And I joke with her about that and joke with the team, that Miley's the loud one. Mm-hmm. But I mean, as far as the leadership goes, she's the silent leader. She leads by example. The things she does on a wrestling mat. She just quietly does it. She doesn't, a lot of matches she'll win very close. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's just not a lot of rah-rah. There's not a lot of crazy dynamic moves on her end, but she just is efficient and gets it done her way. Deegan is, I wouldn't say, yeah, maybe she's a little more rah-rah,
right,
but she's just more vocal.
Right. Yeah.
The other night, Kruger was gone, mm-hmm, and it's tough when you've got you guys coming up asking questions on the lineup. You got the announcer coming up asking me pronunciations. You got parents coming up, when's my kid going to wrestle?
Right.
It's just a lot of busy work, and so I really noticed it when you have one part of your coaching staff gone. And so Deegan kind of took over as, one of the assistant coaches the other night and led warm-ups and got everybody ready and got them lined up, and I didn't have to worry about that. So, but yeah, she does a lot of our technique in the practice room. When we want to work on something, I mean, she knows everything front and back that we do. So,
This weekend, Jamestown?
Jamestown this weekend. Yep.
Taking all the wrestlers.
Everybody should be going.
Okay.
There might be a couple of conflicts. But aside from that, Miley will be back from her concussion that she got in Minot.
Yeah.
So we should have a good tournament there.
Any goals set for this team, Tim, that you or the wrestlers have set on that some you or Coach Kruger have talked about or not?
We want to qualify for the state. We want to, and there was some discussion in the off season that you had to qualify for the regional dual tournament. I don't know if that was ever put in place. I know it was mentioned where you had to win X amount of duels or have X amount of duels to be able to make it to regional duels. But I don't know as though that's in place. I think I would have heard more about it if it was. But I mean, we want to place high at regional duels and qualify for state. We can certainly do that, and we talk about, we have one member of our team who's not going to be wrestling this year because she has a back injury, which is Gabby and Gabby Hanig. And had we had her, we start looking at our lineup. We want to try and win 7 matches in our duels. Right? If we can win 7, there's about a 90% chance we're going to win that duel. And we start looking at our kids that we can count on to win most of their matches. We would do very well versus minus the top the big teams, Legacy, Minot, Bismarck High. Aside from them, we would be as good as anybody in the state. So as far as that goes, on the dual side of it, this is the first year we've done that we're going to do duels. I mean, yes, we had the one last year that was put together at the last minute, so to speak. But we'll have, I think, 8 duels this year. Before we go into regionals. So, we want to do that well there. And if you saw last night how loud or on Tuesday night how loud the crowd was at certain matches, and the dual atmosphere is always a little more electric than tournaments. So we want to do well in duels. The rest of it's individual goals. That our wrestlers that have wrestled for a while, they know where they want to be. Our new ones aren't sure what their goals should be, and I just tell them at this point in time, your goal is just to get better at wrestling. Let's just do that, and then whatever goals that you have towards mid-season or late season, they'll start to come into view and be a little more clear.
I don't know if this is a fair question, and I apologize if it isn't, but because you haven't had a lot of duels, but a lot of times you hear a coach say, "Well, we've got a good dual team." Or a good tournament team. Is this a good tournament team or a good dual team? How would you describe that?
I would say we're going to be both.
Okay.
Again, same thing with a good tournament team. There's so much that a lot of people don't understand about duels versus tournaments. What's a good dual team? What's a good tournament team? And then there's even sometimes you have a good big tournament team and a good small tournament team. Most people wouldn't grasp that, but if you have one kid, let's just say Miley who won the Rumble last year. That's a big tournament. If she can go all the way through that bracket and get to the end and win that, she's going to accumulate a lot of team points. Okay, just because she was able to go all the way through to the end of the tournament. And you might have another team that in a smaller tournament, their kids would not get beat out right away. But in a big tournament like the Rumble, they all get beat out. They end up scoring no points. Somebody like Miley went through and gets first, and now herself has scored a lot of points. If you have a couple of rock stars or kids that just do really well at that tournament, you can place very high with just a couple of wrestlers. Where you go to a smaller tournament now with your same team, some of those other teams can beat you because they are placing, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th in a lot of weight classes. Getting back to the dual team versus our tournament team, I would say we're probably going to be very good in duels and good to very good in tournaments.
But it's just fun to talk about, though. You have enough wrestlers to do duels, and that you have enough wrestlers, you can have 12, 13, 14 wrestlers going to a tournament. That's got to be exciting as a coach and just as a program, how it's building, and you have the numbers to do that and to talk about that.
Well, when we started thinking about it, 2 years ago when we had 6, 6 was never going to be enough to do duels.
Right.
Just because, mainly because it's not fair to the other team to bring 6 wrestlers and then have seven forfeits
Right.
that you're giving them when they have a full roster. So yeah, we've always, that's kind of a goal, was to get to the point where we could have a dual team, and we're here now. And so, yeah.
Fun to talk about. It's
Yeah.
great. It was fun on Tuesday night. The atmosphere was great. 39-28 win over Northern Cass, 42-36 win against West Fargo United. So out to a 2-0 start for the Highliners, and it looks like there's so much excitement. The fans are going to enjoy watching this team wrestle this year.
Yeah, I mean, I was so focused on the coaching aspect the other night, and so I didn't sit and take in the crowd. Which when I go to our first boys home duel, I'll look at the crowd, I'll pay attention, to what's happening. How, did we fill the seats? But yeah, I just know that the atmosphere. I know it got loud. I could hear the sound of the crowd in a few of the matches. And then of course I go back and rewatch. On YouTube, and you did a great job broadcasting, by the way, for not having a wrestling background. You're doing awesome. So
well, it's fun to watch, and I do it as a fan, and I think my fandom comes out a little bit when you hear it. I get a little excited sometimes.
You did. You absolutely did a few times.
It's hard not to.
I felt some homerism there.
There was a little bit of homerism.
Which I think that's okay.
Yeah,
when you're doing your own home broadcast there.
And if anybody saw me, there's some fist pumps going on too, even during the exhibition matches.
So you know what we need? We need there's some cams at some games where they'll have the scoreboard,
right,
which was up on the screen. They'll have the action, and then they'll have a separate camera of the announcer.
Oh,
right. So we can see what you're doing.
I don't know if you want to do that. I can put my phone up there, and I can record myself on my phone, and then I can put that on social media later on. Well, Coach, again, good luck this weekend in Jamestown. The season is off and running, and looking forward to a lot of good wrestling here at the Hacken throughout the winter.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes.
Coach Tim Miller joining us here from Highlander Girls Wrestling, back with more Coach's Corner from the Hack on the Highlander Activity Network. Back here at Coach's Corner in the Highlander Divinity Network and girls basketball. They started the season here on Tuesday as they were up at Devils Lake and defeated the Firebirds 69-65. Coach Jimmy Howard joining us. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Excited now the season's finally getting going here, and you got a full roster with the volleyball over.
Yeah, it's been a weird start to the year. It felt like a game came way too soon. By finally practicing with the full group of kids, then we got Tuesday weather. Can't have practice after school, so you take that day out. You take Thanksgiving out, and then Monday you're not gonna go too hard. You're prepping for game, and there's still so much stuff we got to go over and go through. But kind of the saving grace is that most of the team has come back, and so they know most of our stuff. So we could focus a little bit more on conditioning, shooting, and some other things, and just go over what we do offensively, defensively a little bit.
Looked like a little bit of a slow start, though, against Devils Lake. I think 34-20 at one point in the second quarter. But then slowly but surely they got back into it. What was the change in that switch?
Well, I think during one timeout I said it looks like we haven't played a meaningful basketball game since last March. And I said that to somebody else. They're like, yeah, it's been about 9 months. And, it's like, okay. No scrimmage, no whatever. So I think the first quarter and a half, we're just getting the kinks out of playing in a competitive game again. Refs that are calling fouls, things like that. And then our conditioning, there's getting in shape, which we're still not there. And then there's game shape.
Right.
And so I think, I say every year you got to weather the first 3 minutes, that adrenaline kick, and then kind of the crash that comes from all the hype to get ready. And I just think we finally settled in to who we were. Ball started moving from side to side, then we were able to attack. We got in the paint a little bit, and then we're able to hit some outside shots. And once we started scoring, the confidence started coming back. And, and they did it all last year. They just right now they find a way. I told them yesterday, I said that takes a lot of maturity, a lot of guts to not just fold. We could have been we've only practiced we had 3 good practices in a row before a game basically, and we could have said that was that and walked out of there with, our heads held up that we played hard or whatever, but we continued to fight, and they're a resilient bunch of kids.
Free throws, again, it looked like they were little, we've talked about this for 11 years, well, you and I haven't, but again, free throws, a little bit of made things nerve-wracking there for a while.
Yeah, and a lot of that, it'll come and go. Lower than what we want to be. Obviously, 17 of 33 from the free throw line is not good, but a lot of that comes with the conditioning, legs, and having just the muscle memory of shooting free throws again. Some of the girls haven't had an opportunity to pick up a ball since, summer league ended or whatever. And a lot of, 9 out of our 14 were at state volleyball. So they've been shooting hoops for about 5 days consistently. And so that'll get improved. But I always say somehow we seem to make the ones that matter the most. And Katie Coca was able to go to the line at the end of the game there and make 2 to put us up 4. But for a while there, it was like, girls, we just make some of these free throws. We're not sitting here in they make a basket and we're down situation. So,
right.
But they kept attacking, they kept going, and it worked out.
69 points, so that's pretty good for first game of the year when you're sitting at 20 and but 69 points, the offense really got going in that second half.
Yeah, Maddie had a big spark in the second quarter, kind of got her going. She was able to hit from the perimeter. Coda had foul trouble, and she still ended up with 14, kind of a quiet 14, but a good 14 for us. And she was able to come back, give us some points. I think she had a couple threes as well, so we were able to space the floor a little bit with that. And then Sky and Katie just do what they do in the paint, and we were able to get some offensive rebounds. They started limiting their offensive rebounds. That was huge for us. And so, we had 4 in double figures, which is always our goal. And then we had 5 from Kaylee Nielsen. It was nice to be back and playing. And we had 5 from Katie Coca as well. And then we had a few others that were on the floor that had some good shots, didn't fall. But we're able to actually play a bunch of kids this year. We're healthy, or as healthy as we can be, I guess. But, Kaylee missed an entire year with an injury. And so her coming back just helps in our depth piece, and if we can be a little bit deeper, we can stay a little less tired on the floor and then have those moments at the end where we can try to put teams away.
First game of the year is against one of the better teams in the state, so interest, and on the road too. And you talk about the fouls. I think they had 3 players that fouled out. A couple more were getting close by the end of the game. But very physical, but it usually is a physical type game with Devils Lake, isn't it?
Yeah, both of us coming from the EDC, I think kind of the big difference, and it's starting to balance out a little bit, but was that it was a lot more physical at that A level than it was in Class B at that time. And now with this middle class, you're seeing, a little more physicality there, but we're both we're used to it, and we still have players that were playing at that time.
Right.
And they were going to be scrappy. We were taller than them. We had more kids with size, and they were going to have to take some chances. And so, they get scrappy, and then there's bodies bouncing off of each other, and it's usually a physical game up there, even here. But the girls responded, and that was all that really mattered.
Now we've got the BCT coming up here next week. You open up with Warwick, a new team that's into the tournament this year. So the 3 days next week with that top seed, but it's kind of interesting the way they have the brackets because for different reasons, Northern Cass needed to play the first game because they got to get a concert going. But now you got the BCT. Excited about this to get it back, get back in. Those are your first home games of the season at the bubble.
It's nice to be able to play some games, especially regions are going to be at VCSU, so it's nice to have some games in there. Some people say maybe we shouldn't be in it, whatever. It's nice to get 3 games. It's nice to see people that we don't see. There's some really good teams there, in the Class B in the Class B ranks as well. So it's not like you just go over there and well, you're the big dog or whatever.
Right.
There's going to be some really good games over there. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's a great atmosphere. And so I think regionals in there is going to be a lot of fun as well because it's going to be packed. And so, Tuesday, we take it one game at a time. We're looking at that. Warwick's coming up. We'll watch a little bit of film on them and get ourselves prepared. Expect it to probably be an up and down game a little bit, but using it as a opportunity to continue to get in shape to play, because out of the BCT then we get Kindred right away there, and so big region game right away. So the BCT hopefully will help us ramp up to get ready for that.
Any goals set for this team yet, or is it still too early to think about goals set?
Yeah, probably a little. We just haven't had time to sit down and say, hey girls, this is what are our goals. I don't like to put a lot of emphasis on having a successful season based off of just wins and losses. There's a lot of things that can make our season successful. There's a lot of things that going into getting wins, staying healthy, things like that. Some stuff out of your control. So making goals that are attainable to make our season successful, whether winning or losing. And then obviously we like to put, some of those goals on there as well, because those are good goals to achieve. Last year it's time to put some years on a banner, or get some banners up in there. And now it's targets on our back kind of, and can we do something that historically is very difficult to do? I mean, obviously that's a high goal, and it's going to be a goal for us. And I said it's kind of rare to have a whole team get the opportunity to do it back to back. So there's a lot of work to be done. We're not there yet, but if we can keep just finding a way and accumulating and getting better, things will be really positive for us.
Final question for you, and I don't know why I didn't think to ask this right away. You talk about, a lot of girls got on the floor, so depth, until you get into that game shape, having your 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, they're going to have to be game ready too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to be able to play a little bit deeper this year than we did last year. We had some very good freshmen last year playing on the JV, getting spot minutes here or there throughout the year last year, and now as sophomores, hopefully being able to step in, help, and hopefully we can stay at 9, 10 deep. We had some really good performances on the JV on Tuesday. Nora Peterson got in foul trouble, but when she was on the floor, played very well. Bryn Leak also played very well defensively, and she took care of the basketball. She was asked to play a little bit of the point guard position, you know, and then we got Elena Deal, new here.
Right.
She had a very good game. And then Josie Hex now getting opportunities to play this year, and I thought she played very well as well. So, you know, we're gaining confidence there, and those kids that are gaining some of that confidence then are going to be able to give us some spot minutes here or there at the varsity level.
So on Tuesday, 4:30, the afternoon, the second afternoon game at the Bubble. So head on over to the Bubble and watch the girls take on Warwick, and then we'll see what happens. But it's fun just to get into basketball season now. And even though the weather, I don't like the weather being basketball season, but we're good to go. And so Tuesday's the next game. That's always your philosophy too. The next most important game is the next game, right, Coach? That's the one we're worrying about right now.
Yeah, I don't want to get lost down the road of who we got here, who we could see there, especially at a tournament. Like, you don't know who's next. There's
Sure.
two teams there. Why should we're not looking at that.
Yeah.
You just try to stay focused on what's right in front of us, and then you don't get lost in the journey here. You know, it's game by game, and we stay with that, and we don't get lost at what the end goal is.
All right, well, we look forward to Tuesday, Coach, and win number 1 under your belt. Now we'll move forward.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Go Highliners.
Coach Jimmy Howard from Highlander Girls Basketball back to wrap things up here on Coach's Corner from the Hack on the Highlander Activity Network. Back here on Coach's Corner here on the Highlander Activity Network, wrapping things up. Again, here's what's coming up here for us. We will have, we're not going to have a lot of home events here until we get past the holidays. So we will be back next week with Coach's Corner. That is our next broadcast here on the Highlander Activity Network. Of course, the girls are going to be at the VCT next week. That'll be Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And again, they open up with the Warwick Warriors 4:30 on Tuesday afternoon at the Bubble. The boy wrestlers, the wrestling team, they are on the road at Hillsborough to a tournament this weekend. And the girls, as we mentioned with Coach Miller, they are in Jamestown for a tournament here this weekend. That's going to wrap things up here on this edition of Coach's Corner. My thanks to Coach Tim Miller and Jimmy Howard joining us here on today's program. Beckett Ness, our camera operator and technical director today. And, of course, you, our viewers, we do appreciate you joining us each and every Thursday. We'll be back next week with another edition of Coach's Corner here from the Hack on the Highlander Activity Network.